NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring you latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. All right, so the Nets went 3-1 the last 4 games. They continue to do this little trend of playing well after I become very, very critical of them. Because if you remember, in my last NetsBoy episode, after the Nets went 0-5, I said this team's going straight for the play-in. That I didn't see any way possible. They were not going to be in the play-in. Miami was playing really, really well. The Nets were playing like crap, and I was pretty convinced of it. Well, the Nets, like I said, went 3-1. They had a big, big, big win, maybe the biggest win of the year against the Miami Heat, which solidified them in a situation where now their magic number to clinch the playoffs in the 6th seed is 2 with 4 games to go. So any combination now of Nets wins or Heat losses that equal 2, the Nets will be the 6th seed. And I'm in a little bit of disbelief. Look, there's not a lot to really complain about these last 4 games. I mean, obviously the loss to the Magic was a disappointment, though it was on, the heels of a back-to-back after that really tough. I mean, I don't want to say it was tough because the Nets ended up really pouring it on in the third quarter against Miami and really kind of pulled away and ended up winning by, I believe, like 19 points or something like that. But it was still a game that you knew that all the focus was on that game. So at first, I was really mad that the Nets lost to the Magic the next game. But then when I started thinking about it, going on that road trip, the Nets' mindset was all about the Miami game. They knew that that was the bigger game, and I think all focus was on that game. And then the fact that the Orlando game was a back-to-back, there wasn't really a lot of time for them to, readjust or look at tape or refigure out a strategy. And we already know that for some weird reason, back-to-backs are really a problem for a lot of teams in the NBA. I mean, we do know the reasons. I just am very shocked that it plays that much of a factor. The fact that, players tend to have a little bit more fatigue. They don't get into as much of a routine. They don't have time to prepare. Those are all the things that go with those back-to-backs. But it still kind of shocks me how often teams slip up in the second game of a back-to-back. And let's be honest. Orlando is getting, they're not that bad. They're a good young team. They're not going to make the playoffs, but, I think they got a bright future and a lot of good young talented players. And they're playing really well of late. I think they won like 4 of their last 5 games. So they're playing well. So when I look back at it, that loss is understandable, though still should not have happened. But then, obviously, they follow that up with a great win against the Hawks. Similar thing against the Heat. They just poured it on in the third quarter and kind of pulled away. And then something happened where I guess the Nets thought they were good. And I'll be the first to tell you that they are not good because they played the Utah Jazz, a team that's banged up, missing Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton. And the Nets, throughout most of the game, were in complete control. They were up by as much as 21 points. They were, they were getting contributions from everyone. Everything was looking good. And then I knew something bad was going to happen. Because, now I don't know if Jacques Vaughn was doing this intentionally, but it kind of seemed like he pulled his starters and put in players like Watanabe and Cam Thomas in a little too soon. Now, granted, he didn't go full-fledged bench players towards the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth, but look, Cam Thomas should never see the light of day. I'm sorry. I don't care. I say this every time. I don't care if the guy had 3 consecutive games of scoring 40 or more points. He just doesn't help this Nets team in any way possible. Mikal Bridges can do the scoring that Cam Thomas does, and he does it better, more efficiently, and can also do other things on the court. Like, there's just no reason for Cam Thomas to play. I think Jacques Vaughn, if you put him on a lie detector test, will admit that he was trying to steal some minutes for rests for some of his key players, like Mikal Bridges, like Nick Claxton, giving Day'Ron Sharpe an extended run there. And it didn't work because from the end of the third to pretty much the end of the game, it was just like a continuous run by the Jazz. And I'm watching it, and I'm just like in disbelief. Like, I was just like, oh, the Nets got this game, it's over. Even when the, Jazz went on like a little mini run to start the fourth quarter, where it was like a 15, 18-point game, I still was like, they got this. And then all of a sudden, boom! Big run, missed free throws, some ding-dongs. I mean, and just by some luck, the Nets managed to hold on and win by one. And the reality, I think, set in of what I've been saying, this Nets team is not that good. They played with this level of confidence because they played great against the Hawks. They played great against the Heat. And yet, they were playing great for 3 quarters against the Jazz. But we have to remember that this team, at best, is a 500 team. I've said that from day one after this trade. Well, actually, no, I didn't say it from day one. That is a blatant lie. I thought they were going to be a little bit better than that. But after watching this team play, I am still convinced that if you let this team play a full season the way it's constructed, they would be a 41 and 41 win team. Like that's their record. So when you're a 500 team, that means you are average. You're mediocre. You are right in the middle of things. And that's what this team is. So guess what? That means you're not good. That means you're not great. That means you got to continue to play until the end of the game. The Nets just completely got complacent. And once again, I said I think Jacques Vaughn should have went back to the starters a little sooner, but I think the starters switched it off in their head. I think Bridges never thought he was going to come back into that game. Dinwiddie, Claxton, I don't think they expected it. But then they came in there and they were completely messed up. And give props to the Jazz for battling back. And, I mean, look, at the end of the day, a win is a win, even though it was by 1 point, even though Kelly Olynyk had a chance to win the game for the Jazz. I mean, but it just goes to show you why I don't care about the fact that the magic number is 2 games and that the Nets look like right now they're in the driver's seat to clinch the 6th seed and not stay out of the play-in. I still don't have faith. I still don't. I said this before, and I'll say it again. Negativity is the way to go when you're a Nets fan because it's the only way that you can see things without being just massively disappointed. So, even though the Nets are 2 games away from clinching the 6th seed, and they have some very favorable matchups, which we'll address coming up, and the Heat have really slipped up. I mean, I don't know what's going on with them. They played really well before they played the Nets, and now they just can't seem to get it together. I still don't have faith that the Nets are going to be the 6th seed. I can easily see the Nets going 0-4 the last 4 games, and the Heat going 3-1. I can see it. I mean, is that too hard to believe? Have the Nets not gone 0-4 this year? No, they just went 0-5 2 weeks ago. Have the Heat not gone 3-1? I mean, they've done it before. Like, it could easily happen. So, no, listen, I don't have faith yet. I won't have faith that the Nets could be the 6th seed and stay out of the play-in until they actually mathematically clinch that spot. Because that's just the reality of it. And the way they played down the stretch in the Utah game is all the proof I need that this team really isn't that good, okay? So, it's just a fact. So now, let's look at the next couple games for this Nets team and try to see, could they win 2 games? So, there's 4 games left in the regular season. They have the Timberwolves Tuesday night. The Timberwolves are right in the thick of things in the Western Conference. They're trying to, get out of the play-in themselves. They're in the play. They're right in the thick of things. That game is dangerous because we know you're going to have a super, super, super motivated Timberwolves team. And, the Nets have to play at the top level. And remember, they played the Timberwolves earlier this just a couple weeks ago, and I believe they lost. I'm going back in my magical phone. When the heck was that? I'm pretty sure they lost because they're the Nets. I don't remember. I can't find that score right now on my phone. It was way back. But I'm pretty sure they lost. So the reality is this Nets team has to play really, really well to win that game. But then they have the Pistons, one of the worst teams in the NBA, just like the Rockets. But, of course, it's a back-to-back. Go figure. Go figure. I don't care. You absolutely cannot lose the game against the Pistons, okay? I don't care if it's a back-to-back. I don't care if you take a lot of energy and exertion against the Timberwolves. I don't want to hear the excuses. You cannot lose to the Detroit Pistons down the stretch of this game. That is the only game where I'm sitting here and say the Nets have to win with no excuses. You cannot lose that game. And if they do, they do not deserve to be the 6th seed. Then they end up with the Magic, a game that I would say before the Nets should win, but we just saw them lose to the Magic. Granted, we touched upon it. It was the back-to-back. Don't care. Don't want to hear excuses. The Nets should still win that game. It's a home game. They should still win. I mean, the Magic are, like I just said, they're a good young team. They're playing well. I don't get you got to win that game as well. So right off the bat, there's 2 games that the Nets should win. Heck, 3. I mean, the Timberwolves are, in my opinion, a better team than the Nets. But the Pistons and the Magic, the Nets are better than those 2 teams, and they have to win those games. You take care of those 2 games, it's over. It doesn't matter what Miami does. The Nets would clinch the 6th seed. So there you go. There you go. The Nets should do it. They really should. Oh, and by the way, their last game of the year is against the 76ers. That is probably going to be a game in which the 76ers are probably going to be stuck right where they are in the standings, and they'll probably be resting all their main guys. So James Harden and Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, they probably would all be rested. But if you recall, the Nets blew a game when that happened earlier this year against the 76ers. I think Tobias Harris did play in that game, but it was no Embiid, no James Harden, and the Nets blew that game. So who the hell knows? That's just the reality of the situation. All 4 of these games, the Nets can win. They really can. But I don't have any faith in it because we've seen this before from this team. They're going to play a tough matchup against the Timberwolves and just fall short. Then they're going to go on the road to Detroit on a back-to-back, one of the worst teams in the NBA, but it's a back-to-back. So they're going to somehow screw that up and lose that game. Then they're going to play against the Magic and the team that they should beat, but they just lost to them. The Magic have confidence and good young players, and it's going to be a close game, and then they're going to fail about that. Then they're going to play the 76ers, and the 76ers are going to be resting everyone because they're going to be stuck in the standings, but because they are the Nets, and they are a disaster, and they will find ways to disappoint you, somehow they will lose that game just like they did earlier in the year. Meanwhile, the Miami Heat will go 3-1 and jump over the Nets. Then the Nets will proceed to go into the play-in, lose to the Hawks in the first round, then probably lose to the Bulls again in the second, and be eliminated from the playoffs. There you have it. NetsBoy's bold, disastrous prediction of this Nets team. Because you got to be negative. There you have it. Let me know what you guys think about everything, about these last couple games, what I'm talking about. I literally just dictated the worst case scenario and ultimate disaster for the Nets. Let's be honest. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But that's the way I'm going to set my mind right now because that's, like I said, it's the only way I'm not going to be disappointed. Let me know what you guys think about everything. My next NetsBoy episode will almost certainly be after the 76ers game when the regular season is over, so we can look back at the regular season and I can get even more angry about how it was a disaster. And then we'll go from there and we'll see where this Nets team is. Are they the 6th seed? Are they in the play-in? We'll see, and we'll obviously discuss those things. So that will be my next NetsBoy episode. Until then, this is NetsBoy, not caring that the Nets went 3-1 the last 4 games, and signing off.